one of a kind.
From the shadows we move, striking out bright. In every twist we find the light. Breeding the best, gotta have patience in this game. Chondro Corner, where we make our name. Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner. Chondro Corner, where we rise and grow. Twist and turn, let the passion flow. Chondro Corner, watch the future shine. Every scale a story, one of a kind.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Chondro Corner, Herp Collectors Network. How's everyone doing tonight? Doing something a little bit different tonight. We're going to have our guy Justin on. We've had some audio troubles. We're fighting through that, trying to figure out if we can get him to come on here. Audio. He's backstage. He is in the green room, but we've got to get his audio up. So we're working on that right now. We're going to see if we get him stage here and see if this is magically working. And we're going to have Justin here of Ozarks Mountain Corps.
Is
audio.
It fixed? Can you hear me?
Fixed.
Bingo.
It's fixed.
Bingo.
We're good. Whew. Well, nothing like a small heart attack to start the night. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, scotch free, man. Hey, how are you, brother? I appreciate you having me on. It's gonna be fun to kind of do my first non-ball python podcast. So
we're kicking off 26, man. You're kicking it off for the whole year, so that's pretty awesome. I'm excited about that. Very much so. Yeah, so you're a ball python guy. Pretty much everybody knows you. You've got a lot of high-end projects, and well, I mean, everyone just kind of knows you as that, and you've been kind of keeping under the radar for a little while. I mean, you've put up some great photos and some great content on your Instagram. People might have had a clue that you were starting to get some animals if they're paying attention.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, man. What are you working with the Chondro-wise? What do you got so far? Number of animals and age?
So right now I'm sitting at 2 adult females. I've got 4 female grow-ups that are about a year and a half old. They're Jayapura cross Beox. And then I've got some Neos growing up. I started within the past year, I started kind of dabbling into some of the nicer designer stuff. So I've got a decent amount of Neos growing up from this past year. So
designer, you say?
Yeah, a couple. Yep.
Nice.
Yep. So I've actually kept green tree pythons. You know, one of my big issues first getting into ball pythons is I got scatterbrained as heck. So I got in very into 2018 into 2019. I went to my first reptile show and my mind was blown, seeing people do this full time for a living and, all the vast amount of
dream
you get your hands on. So I went a little crazy and, even trying to hyper focus with my ball pythons is my bread and butter. I ended up with a lot of pets, and early on that included a couple green tree pythons, and it just down the road turned from me wanting the strictly green, which it's a beautiful typical look, the classic textbook look, beautiful, but seeing the other extreme of it, like some of these borderline Frankenstein creations some of these guys are kicking out.
Well, do you think that the future is going to be better for chondros or ball pythons? How's the market feeling to you right now? I feel like 25 was kind of a tough year sales wise. I heard from a lot of people high end, the low end, things were kind of going for.
So as far as the high end, I think the high end's always going to do well, whatever market you're in, whether it be ball pythons or chondros. Now that being said, in the ball pythons, due to different various factors, that high end definitely has shifted. So it's not everybody's run of the mill trying to make just DG clowns and stuff like that. It's a lot more thought has to go into your pairings, which is no comparison to the chondros at all, because I think the chondro market's it's vastly growing and it's got so much room to grow because like ball pythons make such good pet reptiles. I would also argue for all the same reasons plus some extra reasons why chondros are almost easier. You set them up correctly, and the care and maintenance on those guys is, it doesn't get easier. It doesn't,
Yeah. My good buddy of mine, Chuck of Chill Chondros, he always says people care them to death. They tweak too much. They spray them too much. They adjust the temperature too often. Just kind of get them where they're eating, pooping, shedding, and just leave it be. If you need an adjustment, take it incremental. But don't overreact. And people think, oh, this animal I spent so much, I have to fix it right now. Oh, it was 80. Well, I got to bump it up to 85 because that's what it's supposed to say in the textbook. And people then kind of can cause their own issues by making an enclosure too aesthetically like zoo-like. And I love bioactive, but if you just stick to the rules, so to speak, of what everyone that's put in the hard work before us has done, they are very simple. They're ironically simple.
You keep them simple, clean, and sterile, and you, for the most part, can avoid some of those issues that you'd run into otherwise. So
yeah,
still may run into issues,
wood chips, a missed strike or an overstrike on a prey item, and there's wood chips, and now you got tooth issues or gum issues, or they're impacted, or a pro. So it's you're right, simple, clean. I always tell people that you buy a snake for $1,000 or multiple thousands or even $500. And you put them in a plastic or Tupperware, with some hangers you've modified and stuck to the side. And it's like, it blows people's mind to spend that kind of money and put them out in the enclosure, but it is what's best. So
yeah, or the Cambro tubs, those racks are so dang cool, but it's a food container, a little plastic bin. Dude, they're so cool.
They work so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So when do you think, you said you have 2 adults, right?
Yes. So I am actively, like, this year, I've already stuck a male with one of the bigger of the 2 Aru. They're Aru type females. They're both just typical Aru looking females.
Okay.
And I've already attempted to introduce a male to one of those. They were on top of each other. I didn't see anything I would call a lock. I also didn't stay up all night watching, but nothing visually I would call, but I am actively working on it. So whether it be later this year or next year or whenever it happens, I am working on getting some babies. So
that's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty quick turnaround. I mean, you kept them as pets, right?
Yeah, but I've also had those girls for, like 6 years now. So, but it was pets. But like I said, up until what really sent me down the rabbit hole with Chondros, I would say would be going to Bill Stiegel's house, like his little party he does at the later Dallas. I went there. Yep. It was the first time they had done the show at Dallas. So I believe that was 3 years ago now, maybe 2 years ago, I believe. 2 years ago.
Okay.
Something like that. But going there and then seeing all this high quality, nice stuff, like the Sickness 2.0, this was when Jaeger was still alive, like seeing some of these iconic animals in the flesh, it kind of gives you a different perspective on what's actually out there. And one of my favorite things when I get, like with ball pythons, for example, one of my favorite things about them is the variability in the species. So with ball pythons, it's a lot more predictable as far as it's a Mendelian type thing. Right. But I like variability because you can work with all the genetics. If you want light, dark, clean, dirty, whatever it is, you can achieve that look. Now, that being said, with the Chondros, there's so much variability, but nothing's guaranteed. You can line breed for some certain type looks, and hopefully you're going like blue line animals or something like that, but none of it is guaranteed, and I had a hard time buying that. I was like, no, there has to be some kind of hints. And I get, some of these really dark neos with the really bright or the dark orange diamonds and stuff like that. Yeah. Or if you're going for high yellow animals, some of the yellow neonates, they'll have a look to them. Besides that, you can get thrown some wild cards, some kind of unassuming animals that end up turning like phenotypically incredible.
It's mind-boggling. We don't know anything. I feel like we know nothing about the genetics on them so far. You're right. Line breeding and hope for the best.
So by far the coolest, in my opinion, lineage-wise of animals that I've picked up to date would be the baby I picked up off of Bill Stiegel. And that's from freight train to pathogen. So that's like 2 incredibly strong melanistic lines going back to each other. And, again, this baby it was a really dark neonate, but it already started its OCC when I picked it up. So it was a little bit lighter, and it kind of progressed a little bit, few shades lighter. And I was getting a little worried, like in a melanistic animal, you're like, oh, light's the wrong way. And then it just popped out literally that last shed, the picture I sent you when it's like solid black, that was within 1 shed. I mean, the 2 of the cherry red to just the green and black, that was 1 shed. It was 3 weeks difference in 1 shed. And it blows my mind. If I wasn't hooked, which I already was, because I just think they're the coolest things, that'll do it,
That's awesome. It gets, I know you're one of I think of two friends that are recently in the last 6 months or so, you've gotten a bill animal. So that's
Mhm.
really cool to see some people that I'm friends with that get into that bloodline and just kind of perpetuate it and see what kind of creativity other people have, what they put into it.
Mhm.
You kind of lead into some of a question I was wondering is, what's the perfect chondro? I mean, it sounds like you're more designer than the locality. You've kind of answered that by just context.
I do like some localities. Like, granted, if I was going to do something, I would want to do something kind of. I like the Maniquari stuff, and especially the Prada line stuff. Incredible. Past that, if I could eventually get into Kofiau, I think
Yep.
just the whole look and everything tied behind, that Canary Island stuff. Uh, I just think is super intriguing. So stuff like that, I would love to dabble in and just have like a pure locale type project.
Yeah, I do
But
too. I
past
do
that,
too.
I have a tough time saying because I like the high yellow stuff a lot with and without the melanism, but that the blue is just so hard to beat. Most other things that you see with the colors of blue that these guys are achieving in nature will kill you if it bites you, or at least rot a finger off.
Right.
Most of them are going to be pretty venomous or something. It's not something you
In
can just get out and
Solaris,
mess
what?
with. You know?
Yeah, I love the calico, the pixelated. I love a varied animal. It's really, I mean, it's a really tough goal to try to shoot for. And I too would like to have some pure locality lines and just keep them as they are for other as an ingredient for the recipe for other designer breeders. Even something like Biox or just anything, just as long as it's U.S. captive bred and it's pure, that it's still usable to people. I don't want to make assumptions of what their project should be. I would like to have some part in some pure localities, and of course,
Yeah.
the ultimate dream is the designer that's just insane and speckled. Lots of melanin, but the blues, the yellows, the ambers, all that stuff mixed in is kind of
Yeah.
a dream for me. But
And past like a conservation type thing, like with Kofiau, because we kind of, from my understanding, like granted, I wasn't around in the Chondro game when the whole Kofiau stuff was coming in, but from my understanding, we kind of, as a hobby, shit the bed a little bit, so granted, if you didn't have a hand in that, like now past that, in essence, we're still line breeding these animals, even if it's a pure locality type that you're trying to achieve, or these designer looks. It's still a line breeding thing. You're trying to achieve, whether it be higher blues or higher whites or crazy black speckling, you are line breeding for a certain look.
yep,
Now, me personally, like I said, if I'm not contributing to the betterment of the species, like a conservation type thing, I want to go for just the wonky Frankenstein type stuff, if possible. But it'll be a hot minute before I'm doing any kind of designer cross the designer. My first stuff's going to be designer outcross, which still produces tons of incredible animals with crazy variability. So I'm going to enjoy it. It's cool.
what do you think as far as resources? I know you've got a pretty nice breeding facility for your ball pythons. Do you keep your chondros in a separate location, same location, or what kind of square footage do you have dedicated, or what do you foresee splitting as far as, are you dialing back ball pythons a bit and giving some more square footage to chondros, or how's that working for you?
No, so they're just all in their own independent locations, so I definitely don't want to intermingle the species or anything like that. So, I like to keep both rooms kind of like as clean as I can. So I don't want to, of course, get all my chondros sick if anything happened, or get my ball python sick. But they also have kind of different. I'm keeping them slightly different. So between the humidity and stuff like that, I
Yeah.
don't think my chondros would be as happy as in my ball python room. But no, I'm not planning to dial back on any of the ball pythons. I've really prided myself on kind of keeping it tasteful. So I don't want to mass produce. It's same thing with the chondros. I'm not looking to mass produce or be the next 20, 30 clutch guy or something like that. That's not me. I want to do some tasteful, fun pairings,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, whether it be red neos or yellow neos and stuff, I've grown a fond love for these species, and then just the development. If nothing else, if it turns to a solid green, textbook look snake,
Yep.
it's the OCC is still incredibly fun to watch. So nonetheless, from that aspect, I've really grown that love for this species. And the ball pythons are my bread and butter, so it's not going to be a dial back at all. I've actually got a new gene that's been hitting the market recently that I've been pushing really hard, the Bambino project.
Right.
So if anything, I'm kind of firing on all cylinders with that. And the Chondros is strictly passion. You know, I also do hog nose, but it's, again, just because I like hog nose. Same reason, you know, I do geckos, hog nose. I just like them. That's the reason I do them. And the coolest thing about having a species is I guarantee it's cool as a bunch of babies. Like if you like green trees, the only thing cooler than seeing some green tree is a bunch of baby green trees. That's so cool. You know, it's like that with anything. I just want to see a bunch of babies. I think it's cool.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna see if I can do a screen share off your Instagram here. I'm gonna see here. Let's see.
I don't share as much as I should of my chondros, man. Every time I share it, it doesn't get nearly the love of my ball pythons. It's sad.
I think that should be up on here. Let's see. Oh, there we go. There's your Bill's.
I gotta show what it looks like now, because so the bottom photo, that was Bill's original, like his background photo, and it was a dark baby. And then above is what it looked like when I got it. So it was, to be honest, when I picked it, I didn't even know it was that dark. I was like, whoa, you know, that's one of those dark ones, man. That's cool.
Yeah. And there's always an argument. You go for the lowest pattern or the craziest pattern. I know when it comes to picking a Neo. And if they have orange triangles, you know, is like, you know, kind of a.
Did you see that clutch though? Freight Train just kicks out insane clutches. All three of his clutches this year were absolutely nuts, but they're just all like that, man. To try to pick a standout, like if I just had first pick, which one would I even pick? Dude, it's tough. You know, it's tough.
Yep. Ryan of High Voltage Chondros out in Southern California he'd got one from a clutch mate of yours.
Yeah,
he's a buddy.
Is it starting to change at all? Like I feel like mine just changed out of the blue. It started getting like this faint light blue chalky dorsal mark, and then the next shed it went completely different direction.
You know, I have not been on social media, honestly, admittedly, a whole lot the last several months. I've been super busy with work. What's this animal?
That's the Jaeger offspring right there. That's actually one of my buddies is letting me use that for one of the Aru girls, and I'm running a Rogue and Rainbow Dash offspring, a high yellow boy to the other girl, or going to attempt to. But that's Jason Amos's snake. But that is Jaeger offspring. It's Jaeger cross Clover. So he looks a lot like Mama, but like everybody says, that bloodline is there. It's pretty potent bloodline. So
that's what you got to keep in mind. I mean, you're well advanced enough to
that'll hopefully be the sire to one of my, or I'll be cool. I don't care what goes. If anything goes this year, I'd be more than ecstatic with either one of them. But that is one male that I am attempting to try to get to breed for me this year.
Let's see. I'm looking for that newest picture that was really shocking with one shed.
I don't think I've publicly posted it yet. I sent it to your inbox.
Okay.
I don't know if you're able to pull that up or anything.
Yeah, I mean, if you're okay with that, I don't want to.
No, dude, I'm cool. Show it off. It's cool. I need to post it. I do, but no, I just haven't yet.
Okay, so the before shed is the more. Let's see, before shed's the darker one or the more red one?
The red one.
The red one's before shed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is pretty cool in my opinion. This is shocking, and this is before shed about a month ago. You say?
Yeah. Yep. It was early December.
Yeah, killer animal. Just love that really solid stripe. I think I messaged you. It reminds me of an Emerald Trevo. Just the consistency of that stripe is just so cool.
And it came out of nowhere. I mean, as you saw when I first picked it up, it was pretty patternless. So I'm kind of learning with this particular animal that everybody's told me from the get it's random. You have no idea. And then this animal's kind of making me kind of see that. You know, it started kind of going light, and then boom.
That's that super dark one we just looked at as a young Neo that was like almost patternless and was just dark as all get out.
Yep.
All right. Now this is just after a recent shed. This is a one shed change. This is incredible. Yep. You know, it's like Mama always said, it's a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And that's the beauty. That's the exciting part, especially when you're in getting some designer blood. It's just so fun to watch that OCC.
Yeah. That right there is textbook what you'd want to see from a melanistic baby. You know, it's turning pretty nice.
Man, the blue down the dorsal, the nose, it's just incredible. And then you've got black for days. I mean, you've got a great part, part of the recipe going forward, man. It's killer.
Yeah. One of my friends liked to joke with me, and she was like, well, let's just hope it sticks. And I'm very optimistic. It's not only going to stick, it's going to get blacker. Come on.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, once they go through that change, it's not like they take a step backwards. It's
no. And I picked up some designer outcrosses off of MJ this year. Shout out to him. He had a really, really big breeding year.
He had a big 25.
Insane. But I picked up a couple of his Calico Cross Biak babies.
Yep.
And they're starting to change a little bit. One of them's developing this really cool black flecking over the whole snake. Really went, again, the opposite direction. It was a lighter out of the two I got. And it's now sitting like darker and really kind of black flecking and stuff. But yeah, dude, it's all going to be cool. Even, like I said, if they turn out relatively blandish, green, solid, it's still going to be a fun process. And hopefully I get blessed with some good sex odds. I do have a good number of females growing up now. But with that good bloodline, I mean, I'd like a good boy from the Bills baby, and then, some really nice females to grow up. And I do have a couple people on my hit list. I got some boys out there that I need some blood. I need some babies off of,
Yeah, I know on my short list, I'm hoping to get an animal from Lupe, Space City Chondros down in Houston. I love what his look, and I love Dimitri, the Art of Chondros up in Chicago. Their animals are
those
unique.
guys. One of mine that I'm really, really keen after is Steven Saltzman.
Oh yeah.
Singularity. It's just my buddy Jason finally picked one up, so hopefully sometime soon, I'll be able to put my name on a baby like that, work towards some more, because like I said, I'm in no rush with it, so it's going to take a bit, but I'm going to try to get the nicest pedigreed animals, which again, with the chondros compared to ball pythons, that pedigree I think is such a cool thing. The whole lineage aspect of it needs to be. There are other species, the geckos are big into lineage and stuff, but there's also tons of species that the lineage doesn't get kept enough,
Oh gosh, no.
I think
I feel like
with
other
Chondros
communities are keeping note.
stuff back to like Trooper Walsh and stuff like
Yeah.
original stock is just incredible to me.
Yeah, and I read Greg Maxwell's book cover to cover, and it was just so cool. And see these guys still around, and see Greg is starting to pick up some chondros again in the past year. That was really awesome because I know he went to ball pythons pretty much exclusively, and so it's so cool to see him. I love that book. I know some information now. People will beat it up and say it's outdated and stuff, but it's just a great foundation. It doesn't mean you have to take that book and it's not your guidepost now. But if you don't pay attention to history, and like these guys were like incubating eggs in like glass, beer fermenting jugs and stuff, and like building their own enclosures to improve upon what couldn't be bought on the market, and stuff they figured out from the the late 70s to the mid 80s to 1990s, early 90s is when I feel like the watershed moment kind of happened, and it really success started to be more predictable.
Could you just imagine if the hobby as a whole, or like all those guys were as keen on, or if testing wasn't even available during that time, but just imagine if they wouldn't have had the illnesses and setbacks with Nido and stuff like that firing into it. Just imagine where some of this stuff could be, because it seems like, don't get me wrong, I love all the designer stuff out there, but it seems like we're all almost living off of those guys' work. It seems like Calico and then the blue line stuff and all, some of the stuff's been progressed, but a lot of the stuff is I don't want to say piggybacking, because these pedigrees are freaking incredible lineage tree of animals, but we're keying back to the work done on these guys back in the good old days, as everybody keys into. When I think the chondro market as a whole is headed into arguably the biggest it could ever be, between social media and, like I said, just the availability of supplies and stuff like that, being able to just order you a full one and done setup for a green tree python, that stuff like that's going to revolutionize, I think, the hobby, like chondro keeping in general, because they'll make such a great pet, even the pet industry, something that stays perched up looking pretty at all times. That value in the pet market,
Yep.
Even if you're just going to keep one snake, if you got one that doesn't hide all the time, that's incredible.
Yeah, like one really awesome, some kind of toad ranch or some just killer, knockout enclosure, and that's a piece of art in the living room. Socrates keeps one snake in his living room, in his family room, and it's a Boland's, and it's as friendly as a puppy dog, and all of his other animals are with his facility, his breeding area, and his awesome conjure room. It's to die for. Mm-hmm. But he keeps that one Boland's in the family room. But it's just like, that's the thing. It's like if you have a reef tank, you don't have a bunch of Mickey Mouse silly ones. You have one badass show tank, and that's, you put it right where you want to display it so people come and go, or you can sit and enjoy in the evening. And that's the cool thing about, even like you said, someone that wants one chondro just as a pet, you put that in something awesome. You can put all your money and resources into one item. You don't have to be a breeder. You can still have this really jaw-dropping animal. Because, I mean, you've met plenty of non-snake people, and you show them, what's a green tree python? They look, oh, it's bright green. It's yellow. Is it venomous? And then you
show them a red or a yellow Neo. I don't care. Pick your poison, whatever you like. Pull a baby green tree python out and show it to anybody that don't like snakes, and I guarantee they're, it's wild. I love the ball pythons, but they're again, it's more so, it's like a variability aspect. They're not the most active snake. It's not like that.
As Carly would call them, pet rocks.
Out pressed up against the glass saying what's up throughout the day, and if it is, there's probably an issue. Those things need to be hiding.
Shout out to Carly at Costa Morelia. She's hard into the paint over there with high yellow projects, and got some really cool stuff in from Europe this past year. And she calls them pet rocks. That's what she calls ball pythons. And
well, if they're pet rocks, then chondros are pet rocks on a stick.
Touche.
There's some exceptions. I mean, you get some of those, that typical wild-caught Biak type attitude and stuff. They can be a little ornery. But for the most part, especially you get into these captive animals and stuff, they break stigmas. Like, that was also one of the craziest things, because beforehand, all I'd had dealings with was a bunch of wild-caught animals and stuff like that. And granted, the Aru type are very chill. I can, even my wild-caught girls, I can pull off the perch, mess with them, no issues. But you start messing with the Biaks, and they're smacking the glass, they're coming at you.
Yeah, they are.
They're terrible,
that's how I kicked off my chondro keeping.
But then you see Bill Stiegel, walking around with his wine glass, pulling these freaking solid black, almost freaking Neos, or these 2-3-year-old snakes, or his breeder boy. He's just pulling everything out like it's nothing, and these snakes are just chilling. So I think the captive bred, even one generation in, some of these outcrosses and stuff, seems first generation, they seem to kind of chill out a little bit. So
yeah, I went in tooth first myself. I had a Indo Farm captive hatched import Biak, and I lost a little bit of blood early on, and learned my lessons. Learned not to have a stuck shed anymore.
So that was early on, before I started getting some of the nicer stuff, and then strictly, like, now I don't care to import anything if it's an import animal. I prefer, if I'm gonna buy something, it's gonna be captive hatch now. But early on, when I was importing some ball pythons and stuff, and I had to get like my licensing and all that other stuff, I did dabble and import some stuff from Indonesia. So I got a group of like 13 Neos in. I got 12 yellows and a red, and they were all pure Biaks and stuff, but they were captive hatched from Indo, and they had all only, like, the guy told me they had 2 to 4 meals. So they come in, and then you see these little red, or the one little red one, and these little yellow worms, and you're like, whoa, these things are so dang tiny. And then not only that, but they were, even at that size, they were so damn mean. I had an issue with a few of them being that little, they'd wrap, like they'd hit it, they'd wrap it, and they'd drop the food. But issue with none of those guys striking. Like, they were mean. They were little pistols, and they didn't stop. It was like blam, 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 blam. But then seeing some of the captive stuff, I was like, I was going to keep these guys regardless. I was just going to mess with them less because they were kind of mean. But, to be able to interact with them and have some pretty ones you can actually touch up on, I mean, it's cool.
I know Chuck over the Chill Chondros up in New Jersey. He's a buddy of mine. I've got an animal of his, and he likes to pride himself on getting these animals really tame, that children can handle them. He does a great job of working with them and getting them to where they are a lot more friendly. And, speaking of Biaks, we were talking about their disposition and stuff. Well, here's mine. It's been an awesome animal, and it's gotten more chill with time, especially when I put it to a bigger enclosure. Got a lot less cage defensive. But when I first got into this a few years ago, about 3 years ago, maybe I was listening to the wrong people. I felt like a lot of people were just, they spoke ill of Beox. They were, oh, it's a trash animal. It's just maybe because they were mostly imports, or because they were snappier, or they maybe their color was at the marketplace aesthetically at that time was deemed not as desirable. I don't know. And again, maybe I wasn't listening to the right people, but I know like someone like you mentioned, MJ, and Carly, and other people that are these reputable breeders that have a big platform, a lot of people respect and listen to, have been saying, and how I drink the Kool-Aid too, is that Beox are that secret sauce, that part of the recipe. You put them to a designer or outcross, and you just don't know what you're going to get. It's just a mixed bag. And MJ's really pushed a lot of that in the last year or two. It's like Beox or fire. That's the bee's knees, man. You want an affordable grab bag of, you don't know what the hell you're going to get. Get you a U.S. captive, born and bred pure Beox. And
like my high yellow boy, I got that male off of Socrates. That was actually the first designer. Well, I didn't say designer outcross male, but I picked that up off of Socrates from Rogue Cross Rainbow Dash. So the sire Rogue has a very extensive. He goes back all the way to OS High Yellow. So it's very, very deep lineage. His grandpa's actually in Greg Maxwell's book. So, and then the mom, on the other hand, is a Bushmaster Beox. So she was a pure Beox type female bred to that, and that pairing alone like created some absolutely incredible stuff. And he's not very nice. He's one of my ones that he's a very pretty boy, but he's not a nice snake at all.
I was shocked when I figured out what the acronym OSYH was. It was a bird society. It's ornithological,
ophiological services, I believe.
Yeah, it was kind of a humble beginnings that wasn't really associated with it. It just kind of blew me away when you learn some of his history.
100%.
History.
Some of those guys are the majority of them. I mean, there's some that aren't around still, but a majority of those guys are still around and stuff. It's granted, if they're still breeding chondros, that's some of them aren't. Some of them are doing other things. Some of them are still in the hobby. Some of them aren't. But I mean, it's crazy history, man. And especially like I said, with the popularity that the chondros are gaining now, and not only that, but I think the future popularity to come, because they fit some, as far as like, if you could only keep one reptile, chondros fit a lot of boxes. Like for a lot of reasons, we say ball pythons make good pets. They're chill, easy to take care of. You set them up good. It's pretty low maintenance. Chondros check all those same boxes, and they stay perched and stay out. So again, I think they've definitely got a lot of legs to grow in the industry. So it should be pretty fun.
Hell yeah. Let's get down some of your husbandry. And you ask the same question to 10 people, you get 10 different answers, and none of them are wrong. And that's what's really cool about chondro keeping, is you got to kind of take all this information, and then you have to be an experienced enough keeper to kind of process that and cross-reference it to your own budget, your own space, even your own geographic region. Chondro keeper in northeastern Utah or something, where it's dry and arid, or cold winters, is so different than someone that keeps down in southern Florida. So even something like barometric pressures and constant relative humidity and seasonal stuff can make it a difference. So it's not always the same answer. So that being said, nothing is gospel, but it's always interesting to hear how different people keep their animals. And I like to take bits of information from people I respect and just what I can do within my own means. What kind of temperature range do you like to keep yours in? Are you more like an 83 or 86 kind of a guy in your general hot, warm spot?
84 to 85 is where it hugs. I got it set to 85 is where I set it at, but it fluctuates from around 84 to 85. And I don't adjust temperature for my babies. Like I said, don't take none of this as law, because I've just kept the species, and all that other stuff. But I don't adjust the temp on my babies at all. I keep it steady for them. And then my adults, once they get, I would say probably a year and a half, where I'm putting them in the medium-sized Cambro tubs. When I do that, I start offering from those, and then all my front open, they get a drop to 80 at night, year-round. And then now I'm taking my adult females and I'm dropping them to about 86 is where I'm getting down, or not 86, 76, excuse me, with my adult females, trying to give them a little bit more of a temperature drop. So
how many weeks and how many degrees do you step that down? Like, is it like
it's
2
been
degrees?
the whole, I started it probably the last month and a half of last year into now. And then I just started within the last week trying to introduce a male. And then I'm going to slowly just start trying to increase the temperature, bump it back up a little bit, and then increase the food quantity.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people say October, November is when they start. If they're going to do a cool down, that's usually, to kind of that a seasonal, trigger for breeding is October, November.
You don't want to fight the outside weather. If you're going to cool it and it's cooler outside, it's easier to do that than trying to cool them down in the summer when it's already hot. I mean, it is what I would assume. But yeah, I'm giving it a shot. Like I said, I need an ultrasounder. I've heard Bill talk about that, and I've always kind of wondered, but now seeing these guys actually ultrasound the green trees and stuff, just kind of take a peek and stuff, so I'm not wasting any time. But at this point, like I said, it's all new to me, so I'm just going through the motions. If I'm making the boy waist strokes or whatever, he's having a good time. I'm smiling over there. It's all new for me, so hopefully I have some success, and it's a fruitful experience. I get to see some babies, but if not, like I said, there's always next year or year after.
Ultrasound is definitely growing in popularity in chondros. Yeah. And it's interesting, like you had mentioned earlier, the lineage and the background, the pedigree that we keep on chondros. I feel like, and I'm not super in deep with other communities as I am with chondros, ball pythons, or even the rainbow boas, but I've heard that other reptile species, other keepers of those breeders, are starting to take note and keep lineage as well. That's kind of saturating the mentality of good. If you're going to have high end animals, or they, it's not as simplistic as like ball pythons. That it's a great idea. And then you mentioned, so it's interesting. They're taking something from the chondro world, and the chondro world's taking like ultrasound and kind of adopting it. And these communities are starting to kind of share thought processes, and probably going to improve overall.
Yes. And so the whole thing is, I mean, unfortunately, not just with the ball pythons, but with the chondros, with any of these hobbies, you do get people in it for just a monetary type value. Now, that being said, chondros is financially, I can think of a billion things better to do with your money than just dump a shit ton and hope for a bunch of money back immediately. That's not going to happen. Even I don't like the term coming over here as being referred to as a ball python guy. Granted, that's my bread and butter and it's what I do, but at the end of the day, I'm a reptile guy. You know what I'm saying?
That's why you're here, baby. We're here to break that stigma, man. We're here to talk about it. I love it.
You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things that I think where some of the guys are expanding a little bit and we're getting more and more people in the chondro community, I think some of these different communities that are coming into the chondro community, you can adopt, whether it be ultrasounding or a few little things like tricks or tips here or there, or maybe experiments that, I mean, I'm all about if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I'm also very pro, we can constantly improve things, So that being said, there's little things that I think getting these guys in here, there could be a mesh of information and stuff like that. It's not going to be, not every ball python guy trying to buy chondros is just out for a money grab or anything, Sometimes it can be full exchange of information.
Very, very good point, man. Yeah, shared knowledge, and sometimes the best idea is the freshest one in the room, and everyone else is like so set, so to speak. Everyone's like, "Oh no, this is how we did it. So we always did it this way." And
well, if you do it the same way day in and day out, you quit thinking about it.
Yeah. You quit evolving, you quit trying to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, and like you said, if it works, it works. But there's always room for improvement, or at least to entertain the idea, even if you don't change your process or keeping. But what kind of humidity level do you keep at, man?
So I'm hugging right around 70% on average, and then I'll spray them down good when they're in shed. I'll make sure nice and soaked down for a full solid shed, but that's really the only time I have to spray them. Humidity's great otherwise, and then I just shower them down a little bit, because maybe they would shed great if I didn't do that, but I don't have issues ever with sheds doing it.
Don't take a chance. Just always do that, man.
I don't have any respiratory issues, and everybody's shedding great, so I'm gonna keep doing it. So
if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's the one. That's something that maybe everyone else is keeping their stuff at 60% or 80%, but you're doing fine at 70, and your animals ain't sick and they're shedding right. don't change it.
No, I'm gonna take it. No, and granted, because with those we try to hug a certain thing, but dude, I mean, you end up with not a massive fluctuation, but it's slight, you know. So if we shoot for 70 and we end up at 68, 65, whatever, it's gonna be.
What kind of enclosures are you using? I mean, are you brand loyal, or I'm not. I've got different ones based on the size and what they need, and I've got stuff that's kind of modular to where they can size up until they get to their adult cage. What kind of enclosures are you doing?
It depends, you know, on the size. On the males, max them up at a 2x2 for an adult male. My females, I like 3x2s. As far, and then also for the grow ups and stuff, to about 6 months to about a year and a half, I like those Cambro tubs. Those Cambro racks are freaking cool, man. Especially the little perches you can get from them, reptileperch.com and all that other stuff. And then some of these,
those drop-in ones, those are the ones that drop-in use in the corner, right?
Yeah. Carly just got some. I think it's like Dark Side Lychees or something like that. I don't know the gentleman's name.
Can she get them in pink, like bright pink?
Two-tone, dude. They look so dang cool. But between those aspects, I love those Cambro tubs, man. And you can even go bigger, but I don't have none of the big ones. And then the hatchlings, I actually went with I believe, or not like my Neos, I guess anything less than my 6 months. The small babies, I've been keeping them in the tall shoebox. So it's like a double 6-quart. I think it's a 12-quart. That'd be a double 6-quart if I can do math. But it's the taller shoebox. And I've been really enjoying those. I don't have a brand preference. I have a smaller front open from Focus Cube. It's cool. Byron at Brace Exotics makes some incredible PVC stuff.
Out of southern Missouri, right? South Central Missouri, Brace. Is that where they're from?
I believe he moved somewhere, but that's where he was. Yes, but I believe he moved. And then Alan at Recoil Reptiles.
I like Recoil stuff.
Dude, I don't mean to sound like a window licker, but Alan's PVC, it's made different. It's soft. Like it's so slick and soft, man. I just love the feel of it.
It's thick. Yeah, it's got a robust feel when you come up to it and grab the cage and shake it. There's no other show. There's no ricketiness. You know, it's not loose in the corners. It's not necessarily overly heavy either. But yeah, I like Recoil. In fact, I might try to get a little 2-drawer for that for dedicated animals, but I'm not sure yet. I do like Recoil stuff, even though they're not a huge name yet, but I do like Recoil as well, man.
Yeah, 100%. It's very, very, very quality work. Him and Byron at Brace, like I said, my only difference is the feel of the PVC, as weird as that sounds, but it's the little things.
It's plastic, man.
Oh,
yeah,
dude,
those Cambro tubs are cool.
It's easier to clean too. It doesn't catch none of the dust or anything like that.
I kind of got Cambro tubs in keeping with Chondros, especially the young ones in their first, 18 months and under. Gary Scavino's style of keeping when he keeps them over water when they're really little, and how easy those tubs are to, like you said, a reptile perch, lift it out, and you can take that tub, bleach it. Of course, when you're someone that size, you have extra tubs to spare, so you just swap them to a clean one, and boom, there you go. But it was really nice how interchangeable it is, and how everything was the same. And if you keep them over water, and then you graduate the wet paper towels that are sopping, and then a little bit less until they get to 12-month, 18-month. And watching his progression of raising Neos, I mean, the guy's awesome. He's conquered how many imports and brought them all the way to adulthood and breeding and sold them. So that dude's, I list, if Gary Scavino's going to tell me a tip, I'm going to take notes. That guy's killer.
It's same thing like Bill Stiegel. Like, I'll plug him again. I mean, it's one of the prettiest animals I've got from him. But he also, between him and then again shouting out MJ, those guys have, constantly putting out good information. Chondro Corner here. I mean, dude, these outlets that we can hit and put this stuff out there is just absolutely credible, man.
Shout out to Marshall too, man. Marshall's super nice in person. He's way the hell taller than you think on TV too. I mean, that guy's like 6'3". I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Same thing with Bill. He's pretty tall too, and they're kind of deceivingly taller in person than they are.
Yeah, I've met Bill once. Yeah, in Dallas, 2 years ago. Yeah, I've run into Marshall a few times. In fact, I'm hoping I'm gonna work out the transportation and then scheduling, but I'm hoping to actually maybe do a live from Marshall's at some point. He said, yeah, he greenlighted it when last time I saw him, and I got to get the logistics and all that figured out. But I'm hoping to do one of these shows from Marshall's snake room, which would be rad.
That'll be cool, man. I'm going to visit Bill this Friday, so
really.
Yeah, he had some new babies hatch out, so I get to see some more freight train babies. So
nice, lucky you, you.
Yeah.
So when you get to have you studied much on your incubation plans and style? Like, there's a lot of things like take the purchase from mom, or put the mom in a ball python type rack, or just give her a lay box. And there's a whole bunch of, ideas on that. Do you have a do you subscribe to one or the other as far as what you plan to do when it comes time for mom to get to the end of being gravid and lay eggs?
So what really bought me in is I saw basically somebody pulled like the smaller Cambro tubs. They took the adult female, they put her in with like either your wet or damp medium, I should say, and just put her in a tub with no perch and just let her. She has to lay right there. I just think it's the most foolproof method. And at the end of the day, these things are too precious. It's hard to do in captivity to get green trees to breed right and get the babies, get the offspring. So we have to do everything we can to set ourselves up for the best success. And granted, now that few days before she lays, like, granted, I know I'm putting her in a small tub. I'm sorry. But like I said, it's eyes on the prize almost. It's we're looking towards the better good.
I think that, and I'm not there yet, but I think I'm going to try the ball python drawer style method with temperatures as you expect, 85 on the on the warm end, and more like 82, 80 on the cool end. And you put her in there like even as a towel, you get a new towel, launder it, and damp towel and stuff like that. And so sphagnum moss, the New Zealand pure stuff, and have it really damp like that. And she should be well hydrated. If your snake's, take no water bowl when you put her in that drawer for the week or whatever, you're on egg watch. And if, people are like, oh God, you got to water your snake. And it's like, well, if your mom, your maternal, animal is that far along and it's dehydrated, you got bigger problems than what you keep. But to prevent any issues, no purchase. She's kind of in her own secure spot. She's got a temperature gradient. It's nice and humid. It's just really safe. And yeah, they may not be the happiest because you're grounding it, but you're going to have no eggs in the water bowl. You're not going to have any drop rolled eggs that get cold. And I think that's the method I'm going to do when my time comes. As far as
it seems that kind of like the less variables. If you just put her in there where she's as far as husbandry requirements, like I said, we're going to pull water bowl and stuff like that. But as far as like temperature and humidity, as long as that's met, I'm sorry, I got to be mean for a little bit, but again, it's all for the best. And then that, go ahead.
Are you a big techie guy? I mean, do you got cameras and remote thermostats or anything like that?
I have some, but man, I was I grew up like my dad is growing up was older than most of my teachers. My dad. I was a late in life decision basically, so I didn't have a computer in my house till I graduated high school and went off to the Army, and I bought my own computer. So I have some stuff, but I don't get near as much into anything as I should. I have smart plugs, and I have one ring camera in my condo room, but I have to spin it around. Depends where I'm trying to look. I have to make sure I leave and point it towards that direction. So
I may be wrong, but I think by the time you got egg boxes and you're on egg watch, you're probably going to end up with like 30 little mini cameras that fit everywhere, like James Bond, and you're inside the box, outside the box, in the enclosure, and in the room. Like by the time that comes, because I understand it's so uptight, man, it's going to be awesome.
Half the time you don't do something because you think it's hard, but if you see like, oh, dude, I could order a 12-pack off of Amazon, it's going to happen, But especially from that, the ball pythons and stuff, I cut my eggs, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like I'm necessarily waiting for a pip and stuff like that. I can kind of look, like open the eggs and look myself. With the chondros, it's going to be different. It's I want to try at least. I don't want to cut any of those eggs. I know some people cut after first pip and whatnot, but I just want to see them all come out of the egg and perch up. And yeah, dude, I think having a little camera would be cool. So
yeah,
hopefully I have some luck doing
you
that.
wait what 20, a good 24 hours is a kind of a common range people say to see if anyone else is scratching or trying to poke through the egg, or people have different time frames. So it gets its experience. What worked for you the last clutch and what has worked for you historically. And, I'm not in a position to speak of that yet, but that's what's the fun part about hosting a show is like, I know enough just to ask questions. And like this, I'm also making my own notes. It's kind of selfish, right? Because I'm also learning as the audience is. And that's how I started my show on TikTok, was always just kind of being an enthusiastic student of things I knew and things I wanted to know. And that was a lot of fun, and always has been for me when doing these kind of podcasts. So What about straight bake? You gonna cool the last 10 days or so? Drop it down when you're incubating, or what have you?
I'm gonna straight bake it, man. I'm gonna do 86.5 straight bake.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes, but I mean, I see mixed review. I see people doing a billion different things, but I also the biggest outlier I see is basically keep it simple. Quit overcomplicating it and just let it roll. So 86.5, somewhere in there, and then just straight bake it, let it cook. So
yep, I hear you.
Hopefully I get to deal with that this year. If not, I'd be happy even with slugs, something. Let me at least get a step.
Some stressor to put you through the mill to be like, okay, next time this happens, now I know what I'm going to do. Even if it's successful, great, that's awesome. But like you said, even if it doesn't turn out, you go, man, what could I have done different? And then you start to ask around and pick people's brains, and then you come out of it all the more wiser. That's the cool thing about, I guess, the community. And speaking of the community of Chondros, man, you come into it. And I was always like, oh, they're so snobby, and they just it's such an elitist type of a group. And I have found the complete opposite, man. As far as like, people will tell you, they'll show you their notebooks and all their feed schedules and what they did for their
if you're trying to buy something, there's a difference. Yeah, I mean, everybody is great, but it's like, then the trying to buy something, then you see like the good stuff. You ain't just gonna go out and buy something. You're gonna have to get to know somebody or talk to somebody or meet somebody that knows somebody, and that's how you get the good stuff.
And that's true.
And I think it should kind of be like, almost like, come hang out with the cool kids, and then we'll see what you're about, and then you get some of the cool stuff. And I dig it. It's definitely a lot more like, I can't tell you, again, talking about Bill's first party, I was just blown away. Like, you see this man walking around a party and people just trying to throw money at him, trying to buy something. And he's like, no, we'll enjoy the party. We'll get to it later. Just don't even worry about that right now.
Nah.
And, that's, you talk about a community, which the ball python is great. You've got great people in the ball python community, but it seems like a lot more factions, you know what I'm saying? That kind of butt heads. It seems like drama constantly, especially
people pick their favorite genes. They talk shit about the ones they don't like, or they keep their plans secret until the great reveal to world's first. Or
you see times like now where the economy's, I guess, a little on squeeze and people aren't making as much money, and some it shows with some people, man. Some people just ain't having a good time. With the chondro community, I don't see too much of that, and not only that, but I mean, everybody's just open arms, sharing information. It's that's how I know everybody's success is going to increase, just with the availability of information. Everybody's telling you what to do, what not to do, and just you got to mold it for what works for you. Trial and error.
I think one of the coolest bits of information that's being shared since I've gotten into the community in the last 3 years is feeding neos, feeding trials, food prey selection, everything from the chicken gizzards to live crusties or frozen crusties, the pitfalls of that, scenting, obviously, with chick down, red hot pinkies, and it's just the whole thing. And even like something as simple as, say you got a neo that'll bite and strike and wrap, but it'll hold the prey in its coil and let go with its mouth. Heard a really cool tip. I believe it's from my boy Chuck up at Chill Chondros. Hit it with the second one, and it will eat the second one while it's holding the first prey item in a coil down low, and it'll eventually drop it. But he found some success with, if you got a strike in a coil, and it'll just hold it. If the mouth comes off, give it a second prey item with the exact same type, and that second one's almost always successful. And that was really cool. Something as simple as that,
I will say, I know there was a little bit of controversy with the whole gizzard thing, but I will say gizzard was a lifesaver for me. So backstory, I had my wild caught females, and then I imported some stuff straight from Indonesia, some Biox. All that tested clean. Well, me and a buddy, we were wanting to get some nicer stuff, and I'm sure everybody's heard this story by now, but me and him, we went halves on a OS high yellow lemon tree, like beautiful pedigreed high yellow female that went on Morph Market auction. Well, this female ended up going for a good hunk of money, and we got her in, and she tested positive for Nido. And at that point, you know, the sellers couldn't return the money. The money was gone, but they made it right the best they could by sending me some Neos. And they were 3 blue line babies off of Bill 1701 cross to a Cyclops. So they were designer out crosses, but they sent me 3 of them. And these things had only been assist fed 1 pinky head.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, got them. Yeah, so I got them, and they'd only been assist fed 1 pinky head. And so like those Beox and stuff I got in, some of those, man, they'd bite and they kind of drop it. They wouldn't want nothing to do with it, but they'd all strike. These guys would just duck their head and wanted absolutely nothing to do with anything. You try to poke on them a little bit, get them perked up. They would just cover their head with the coils.
You ever hear the phrase beat the shit out of them with the prey on them, and then they can actually spook them.
But you would not get a response, and then if that head popped up, they'd run. You know, so I end up assist feeding them for probably like 3 or 4 weeks, and then I end up, or like 3 or 4 feedings, and then I tried the gizzard. I was like, and the funny thing is my store was out of gizzard, so I tried liver, and it's not as solid of a meat. But I got a hunk of this liver, and dude, it was like these things flipped a switch. Like they had never seen food, and they were seeing it for the first time in their life. I don't know if it was a scent. And I tried chick dow, I tried a crested gecko, dude. I tried the pinkies, I tried everything with these guys, and then I was having to assist feed them. Well, I tried the gizzard, or the liver, excuse me, and dude, it something about that organ meat smell, dude, flipped a switch in these things. And first offering, 2 of those 3 ate liver, and then the next time I actually got some gizzard, and then they all ate gizzard after that. And then I went from doing that to I just dipped the pinky in the gizzard juice. Sounds kind of gross, but dipped it in the gizzard juice.
I like that at breakfast.
Yeah, you know, but it was just weird to me that something about that organ meat, because like I said, I tried the chick dow and everything, and it was like flipping a switch. And you know, these guys were kind of pains in the butt, and then all of a sudden maybe it just wasn't what they wanted, and then they acted like whole new snakes, and now they're little piggies, man. They'd eat every day if I'd feed them. But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we usually wrap it at 1 hour. We're coming up on it. Let me ask you one last question about a theory that's floating around. Speaking of feeders and Neos and stuff, and then we'll make sure everyone can follow you wherever you're at on social media and what you're up to, and where they can catch you at shows. And we'll wrap her up here. What do you think about the theory of it's not really been proven, and maybe you've heard of people that are doing it with or without success. What about hardy insects for Neos? Because there's a theory that they're not going to find these little baby noodles that are scared of everything in the world, aren't going to go down to the ground where rodents are, or really chase a rodent in the tree. They may more likely come across new hatchling birds, which kind of supports the chick down or the chicken gizzard and liver stuff theories, because that might be something they come across in the nest in the tree, and it's a passive, non-fighting type of a prey item. A rodent's a lot more formidable than a little hairless or featherless bird peeping in a nest. But then there's a theory, just an ecological theory, that makes sense, but I don't know if it's true or not, that in that area, the bugs would be larger, and that they may actually eat large roaches and things in the trees when they're new Neos. Have you heard anything about that? What's your opinion of it, or anyone have any success that you've heard of?
So I have heard that theory, and it does make sense, because especially if you see a fresh Neo, they are tiny. Like those things are tiny. Even to think like a bird, like dude, it'd have to be a small baby bird. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Those things, they're not very.
They're like a ring. They're like a two loop ring on your finger. It's crazy.
Those little red Neos that I got in when I first got those, assist fed 1 pinky head, and they'd fit on a quarter. You know what I'm saying? Those things were tiny, like when they're coiled up. So I could definitely see bugs, maybe moths and roaches and stuff like that. I don't see that out of the realm with those Neos when the little head tuckers, man. I'm not gonna lie, I thought about that, and I did try dubia roaches with them. They weren't interested at all, but I did try dubia roaches. So I thought about that, man. It would make a lot of sense, because there's not very many prey items. Because if you think in captivity, granted, they're not going to go in a rodent den for the most part and find little fresh new pinkies. They're not going to do that. Past that, those things ain't moving around, and I don't know. They're just thinking of the availability of food. There's not much bigger things that thing could actually munch on, especially like mammal and bigger vertebrate wise, fresh hatchling, ain't no way, man.
That's the
gonna be
reason I think
moths
like
and
crested geckos made sense to me, and why I've heard them work in some some breeders. That makes sense.
I can't do that, bro. I can't. I breed geckos too, brother. You know how like I was like, let me try a gecko with this. You know that hurts my soul, man.
I think I want to do a morning gecko.
Great. I believe it's a great freaking tactic, but brother, that hurt my soul, man. I can't.
That's why I can't eat turtle soup, man. I just can't do it.
Yeah, dude, the rats are bad enough. You know, they get cute too. The mice, they get hella cute, you know, but my geckos, dude, I can't, you know.
I think I want to do a colony as I get closer to Neos. I'll have a colony going of all captive, morning geckos, because the females don't need males. They just breed nonstop.
Lesbian lizards, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
hey, what I will say is I need. So, dude, I have a little group of them and stuff, but I get a lot of babies, but, dude, I can't ever find any of them.
Yeah.
So I found like 1 or 2 little tiny ones hiding in a corner, but they have to be getting out or something somehow, because I see there's a lot of eggs and no babies, and I don't know, man. They're cool,
maybe the moms are cannibalistic. Who knows?
Maybe I've got a colony of morning geckos around my place.
So I had somewhere in the rafters. Hey man, where can everybody find you on the socials? Where's your next show? What are you going to vend at? What city, what month, and where can we find you on socials, bro?
So I do the NARBCs. I'll be at all the NARBCs throughout the year. Dallas, St. Louis, Tinley. I like the All-American shows, Kansas City. I think that's the only All-American show I do. But yeah, all the NARBCs. And then past that, I'd have to double check dates. I think Dallas may be my first show of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Either that or the All-American show. But socials, I'm most active on Instagram. I do have Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all that good jazz, TikTok even. But I'm going to be most active on Instagram. And you can also hit me up on Morph Market. But my Morph Market is super bland, and you can't buy chondros there. You can only buy ball pythons. And I do need to do a big update. I'm kind of light right now. Almost sold out from the very end of last year. I don't have much left, man. I'm pretty much sold out. So it was
nice. Way to be. 2025 was a tough year, man. I heard, it was just a year where prices were dropping more than the breeders wanted to drop them to, just to get them to move, and things were slower. And that's the ebb and flow. Like you said, you're picking things that are
fix it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it was a slower year, but at the end of the day, who's going to fix it? It's going to be us. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, like you said, you're breeding things that are more specific. You're not just breeding for a mass, like I would want 30 clutches because that's a number you want. You're going to breed whatever, make up a number, 10 or 15 of really nice stuff that hits all parts of the market. And that's what's smart. That's how you're going to survive this. So ups and downs are normal. So
yes, sir.
All right, dude. Well, it's been great having you on. Way to kick off 2026. This is the first show I'm hosting solo.
Least experienced guy all year, brother, but get at me. I just like having a good time, man. So.
Hell yeah. Hey, get some more chondros on your page, man. We want to see some more of that Ozark Mountain Morse on IG.
Start giving me some more likes when I post them. If I post a ball python, y'all give me like 200 something likes, and my chondro gets 27. Come on.
Maybe it's just maybe it's just relative to the fan market. I don't know.
Bills, baby, man. There's something when I'm saying, we say whatever, the locality design or whatever. I'm going to start posting the nice stuff, man. I bet they get some likes.
I bet it will. All right.
I like it, so that's all that matters, brother.
I'm gonna blast this out of here. I'm gonna stick you backstage for a minute. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming out to Chondro Corner, Herp Collectors Network. Welcome to 2026. And hey, I'm Phil, and I'm filling in for Jen. Permanently for now, so it seems. And so thanks for hanging out with me. Hope you guys had a great time. Hope we, asked some good questions. I didn't get to watch the chat and the comments a whole lot, so I apologize. I was really focusing on technical suaveness to make sure I didn't drop the ball tonight. And if I missed you in the comments, everybody, I missed you in the comments. I am sorry. I just had to focus on getting this right for the first time. Make sure 26 got off on the right foot. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you soon.
Chondro, corner where we rise and grow. Twist and turn, let the passion flow. Chondro, corner watch the future shine. Every scale a story, one of a kind. Chondro. From the shadows we move, striking out bright. In every twist we find the light. Breeding the best, gotta have patience in this game. Chondro corner where we make our name. Chondro corner, Chondro Chondro Corner.